and I have a lot of passion and interest in electricity and Arduino. So this project that I started with was actually a project that I really was into in those times, and this was a project that challenged me. This was a project that I wasn't there yet, and I wanted to try this out, which is why I did, and it was pretty successful.
What a PIR sensor does?
So in basic terms, a PIR sensor is a sensor that detects motion. So if there's anything before the PIR sensor in a certain range, it will detect it. And once it detects it, you in the code will have to tell the PIR sensor what to do. I'm very fascinated by lights, how lights have affected this world, how lights have actually designed things in this world that look beautiful.
Hello and welcome back to our podcast. Today we have a very interesting project to talk about, and it's all about motion detection using a PIR sensor and an LED. So our guest will explain how the simple but powerful setup works and how detecting motion can lead to many creative applications in robotics and electronics. So let's dive right in. So please give a brief introduction about yourself and tell us a little about your project too.
Hello, my name is Dhyan and I am 14 years old, currently studying in grade 9. And I have a lot of passion and interest in electricity and Arduino. So this project that I started with was actually a project that I really was into in those times. And this was a project that challenged me. This was a project that I wasn't there yet, and I wanted to try this out, which is why I did, and it was pretty successful.
That's wonderful, and thank you for sharing about yourself and your project too. Now, what inspired you to make this project in the first place?
So this project was a first time thing for me, and I tried it out a lot of times on Tinkercad and tried to experiment with what I could do. And at the end I came up with this project that was using a PIR sensor and an LED. So this project consisted of one PIR sensor and one LED, which I connected to the Arduino board and coded it so that whenever the PIR sensor detects motion, the LED would light up. And this project was pretty challenging for me at first, but I got the hang of it and I started doing it a lot more afterwards, and I think it's now a pretty basic thing for me now.
Yeah, and that's such a great reason to start, Dhyan. So now, how could you explain in simple words what a PIR sensor does?
So in basic terms, a PIR sensor is a sensor that detects motion. So if there's anything before the PIR sensor in a certain range, it will detect it. And once it detects it, you in the code will have to tell the PIR sensor what to do. For example, in this project, I tell the PIR sensor to light up the LED. For someone else, it might be an alarm or a buzzer or a speaker. It can be anything. But a PIR sensor, in simple terms, will radiate thermal energies and see if it comes back, and we'll see that there's something there in the middle.
Great explanation. Now, why did you choose to connect the PIR sensor with an LED for this project specifically?
Specifically is because I'm very fascinated by lights, how lights have affected this world, how lights have actually designed things in this world that look beautiful. And I walk past houses every day and see that every motion sensor light always lights up whenever I'm in front of it, and decided that how do they work? I was always curious, and I decided that once I found the PIR sensor, I will try it out by myself. And because I tried it out, I was finally able to come up with a project that I wanted to do with an LED, just to show that it's actually not that hard to build one of those.
Yeah, because like you said, lights are really interesting. So eventually, it's a little magic trick that happens whenever like we are near to them and they light up. So yeah, that's that. So and that makes total sense, there. And it's a great way to test the sensor too. So now,
Yeah.
can you walk us through how like the code works in your project?
So the code in this is also very simple. The code in this works by just saying that the LED and the PIR sensor that I have, I will specify it in two different ways. The LED is an output and the PIR sensor is an input. That's all the computer needs to know. Then in the void loop, we tell the computer what we want the PIR sensor and the LED to do. So in the PIR sensor, we write for the PIR sensor in the void loop, we write a if statement. And in that if statement, we say since we connected the PIR sensor to the digital pin, we will say that digital read PIR, and if it equals to on or high, then turn on the LED as well. If it's not, then leave the LED off. So it's a pretty simple code to start off with.
Yeah, yeah, and nice job explaining the code, Dhyan. So, now once again, how does the serial monitor helps in testing your project?
So the serial monitor helps me testing the project because multiple times the sensor and the LED are very faulty, which is what causes sometimes boards to burn out or sometimes the component as well. So I tested this out by using a serial monitor, just writing a simple code for the PIR sensor, saying if there's any motion in front of it, it will just go in the serial monitor and say there's motion detected. And once I tested it out, it was good. It was not faulty, it worked just fine. And because of that, I started using the PIR sensor in my actual project, because not only does the LED have a cool effect, but when you can actually see something and when you actually see that the PIR sensor is detecting something, you believe it even more.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's a great tool for checking your project's behavior. So now, how did you test whether your sensor was working correctly?
So I actually used this app that we've learned with in the classes as well called Tinkercad, and basically I tinkered with everything. I used the PIR sensor and the LED in there and saw how it can work with relation and see if how to connect the PIR sensor, how to actually do it correctly, and what position I should connect it in so the LED and PIR sensor fit right on the breadboard. And once I was figuring this out, I was experimenting new things, like knowing where to connect the two wires, like the ground and the power wire, and where to connect the output wire for the PIR sensor. And I was just experimenting these things, which helped me test out if the PIR sensor was correct or not.
It sounds like you tested it really well. So now, was there any like step you found tricky while setting up the PIR sensor and the LED?
Some steps, not really, because it was a fairly simple project, very basic, but also fairly, um, I would say, useful. And this project, since it was so simple, I was able to do it pretty quickly. But yes, some of the things were hard, like the connections, since the wires were small, the holes were pretty tiny to put it in as well.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. So, tricky steps helps us grow, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what did you learn from making this project that you didn't know before?
Actually, there were some few things that I learned actually, which was components and boards can actually burn out just because if you connect the ground and the power pin wrong, or even if you write the code in a way your code wouldn't function, your project wouldn't function properly. If your PIR sensor is in wrong position, for example, if I put my PIR sensor vertically, it's not going to work because it's going to the ground. And if I put my PIR sensor upwards, then I have to wave my hand over it, not in front of it. So there's these things that I learned and some angles I had to put the PIR sensor at, so I realized what I was doing wrong and I improved it.
And that's a valuable thing to learn. So now, where do we like see PIR sensors being used in our daily lives?
So we see these things a lot of places actually. Like I said in
Mhm.
the beginning, the lighthouses. So whenever we walk past a house or a driveway, every time they light up and we wonder why, it's because there's a PIR sensor in there. Sure, it's not as long range as the one we have in Arduino, but it's a bigger PIR sensor, which has a longer range and can detect motion from a longer distance, which is why it lights the LEDs as well. Also, we see these sometimes in cars when we're taking a when we're taking the cards backwards, right?
Mhm.
Then if it detects motion, it's almost like an ultrasonic sensor, but at the same time, it just works to light up something or just works to do something else. For example, the ultrasonic sensor, it detects the distance and back. So it will tell you how much centimeters you are from here. So that would work in cars as well. But the PIR sensor, it detects distance but turns something on. It doesn't tell you how much distance you have from it. It just says that there's motion there. And
Hmm.
that is also used in cars because you need that. If there's something in behind the car and you don't see it, something has to happen.
Yeah.
And we also see these in the garage doors as well. See, these sensors also, they, like I said, they produce a thermal wave, and there's two ends of the garage that have the PIR sensors, and they shoot the thermal waves right through like a string. If there's anything in the middle, the garage will stop. So there's multiple ways we can use these PIR sensors and see them in the daily life.
Yeah, and these are some real great examples. And now, what part of the project was easiest for you? And well, what part was the hardest one?
So, yep, like I said before, the hardest part was, of course, for me, the connections. My fingers are a little bigger than I thought, and it was hard to put the wires and connect it properly into the correct holes. But the easiest part for me was the code, since I understood the code pretty well, and it was a very easy code, which I could do in like about 5 minutes. And every time I did it, I learned something new from the code, which was much easier.
That's good reflection. So now, how do you feel after successfully completing this project?
It feels very nice because first time my project is actually be seen throughout, right? And it's been a very good time. It's been fun to do it as well because I learned a lot of things. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's such a great feeling. Well done.
yeah.
So now, how do you think projects like these help you build skills in robotics and coding?
These type of projects actually help you a lot because if you see the people in advance, they think these projects are basic. But the place we are right now, these projects are actually helpful because not only they're not just basics, they're kind of intermediate stuff. Since you learn
Yeah.
about sensors in correlation with other components, not just the sensor. So how the sensor turns on something else, how the sensor can put on a buzzer, how the sensor can turn on an LED. There's multiple ways we can use these sensors, and knowing how we can use these sensors is very important and it's very fun to do as well. So it pushes us to learn new sensors, to learn new things, and to excel in the Arduino and the electrical journey.
Absolutely. I would agree. So these projects really boost your skills. And now, if someone is like a beginner, so what advice would you give them to start with this project?
So if anybody was a beginner and if they're listening, um, this type of project, you just need some confidence for it, and it's actually pretty easy. So this project, you can make a project just like this. You can even make it better. There was so many ways you and I can make this project better, like not only adding an LED but also a buzzer, or also adding a speaker, or also adding an LCD screen. There's multiple ways we can add and make this project better. So always try to do that whenever you're a beginner, because that's how you learn more things. And
Yeah.
second thing with the Arduino is that the code is very easy. It's just like how you talk. For example, in the code, if we say if digital read PIR equals to high, it's just like saying if the PIR sensor is on, then else turn the LED on. So just turn the LED on, right? It's fairly simple, just how you speak. So just how you speak, you could write down the code as well.
Yeah, so this advice really helps because most of the students, even when I was younger and when I started learning code, so I was really afraid of code because the way it's written, the way it's
Yeah.
complex. So, but every day it's growing and it's getting easy for us, right? And
Yeah.
that's excellent advice, Dhyan, really, and very helpful for beginners too. And thank you for sharing everything about your project. So,
Thank you.
yes, and thank you for sharing your project with us today, Dhyan. And it's always inspiring to see how even simple sensors like PIR, when combined with coding, and be used to build smart system. And to our listeners, we hope this sparks your curiosity and encourages you to try building your own motion sensing projects. So until next time, keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep innovating.